welcome back to your favorite Chicago sports show. Well, really, your Chicago everything show. That's right. It is Because Chicago. With, of course, the legendary, the one and only, the man who comes with the hottest takes. He has all the ladies like, oh my goodness, baby, why you bringing all that heat? He does these things. And now he's also making his comeuppance as a wrestling announcer. He is that man, Dirty Dave.
Yeah, man. Appreciate shout out on that. Been doing some work in there, getting some stuff on social media up on there, man. It's exciting, but I love being here too, man. I mean, this is really where I let my voice shine. I get to talk about all the things I like, and I get to do with my man Jerome Span, of course.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And of course, you guys know already who it is. Prettiest face on ITC. Don't forget it, baby. That man Jerome Span. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow us on all the social medias. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you can get notified every time we drop new content. And also, don't forget to rate us and review us. If you rate us only 4 stars out of 5, I'm going to say you're a big hater. That's all there is to it. Mm-hmm. But hey, it's the truth, right? Hey, we know we 5 stars. We like a Rob Van Dam frog splash coming off the top, baby. It's guaranteed 5 stars.
Yo, man, I love it. And yeah, I mean, we got excited for that back in the day. But speaking of excitement or I guess lack thereof, I mean, Jerome, we always wear Chicago stuff on the show. What's up with that white shirt today?
Hey, it is a shirt in protest because both teams that are playing right now are boo-boo butt and don't deserve to be on my body, okay? They are terrible. I mean, look, man, I know Sox fans that listen to this, they probably like, oh, y'all finally want to talk about the Cubs being bad. Yes, because before they weren't terrible. Now, over the past month, it's like, what happened? What happened? Now we're hearing talks about they might trade Stroman? What is this, bro?
Man, I'm gonna be in solidarity with you. This hat is for my softball team. It says Team Chicago on it because we are TC, and because you're not gonna put no Chicago stuff in your body, it's gone. Bye. No more hat today. You get to see the flowing locks instead.
I like it.
Yeah, it's been tough, man. I mean, if I hear more Stroman trade talks, I mean, we're gonna have some problems because we can't get one free agent every offseason, then trade him the next year, and then expect to compete in the worst division in baseball. I mean, this is absolutely. I mean, this is crazy talk to talk about. Stroman goes out there, throws damn near no hitter, and then it's like, should we trade him? Maybe. I think absolutely not. I think you should build around this man, and maybe clone him. If we can get 2 or 3 Marcus Stromans, we might be in good shape. I mean, Cubs might be having a lot of wins at Wrigley Field soon if we do that.
I mean, look, man, it's astounding to me that we're wasting a great Justin Steele year. We're wasting it. Him and Stroman are both pitching their tails off right now. Like, without a shadow of a doubt, these guys have proven that they are our 1 and 2 option on the year. And yet we are just wasting it because our offense is absolutely one of the most putrid things I have ever seen as a Cubs fan. Dave, even on those years when they were tanking, it was still like, well, you guys know how to play baseball. You're just not that talented. This team you look at and you're like, you guys are supposed to have talent, but you fucking stink. You stink. Like, bro. How is this the case? We spent the money in the offseason and yet it didn't seem to do anything. It's like we're in the same position that we were last year.
Well, I mean, I can tell you why it seems that way, because they spent money on some of the worst free agents available and gave them all this big money. Listen, I mean, Jameson Taillon got his first win as a Cub in June. We started the season in April. I mean, Jameson Taillon never made sense as an option. I mean, there are minor leaguers that could put up better numbers than him. He finally got one good start for the Cubs, and we're recording on Sunday. That was on Friday. He finally got his first good start as a Cub. It's about time. But, I mean, you spend money on him. You spend money on Trey Mancini. Trey Mancini, what's this dude doing on the team? And honestly, I mean, and still, you spend all this money and you still have, whether it be management or the front office, that are obsessed with these horrible, horrible players. They keep putting them in the lineup. There's not a single reason why Tucker Barnhart needs to see the field as a Chicago Cub. If I have to spend more time talking about Miles fucking masturbator Boney, I'm going to fucking lose my shit. That is the worst player I've ever seen in a Cubs uniform. And he's batting leadoff. David Ross, leadoff.
Look, Miles is pretty awful. Like, and you know it's bad when you can't even be Billy Hamilton. Because Billy Hamilton was hitting, for his career, he was hitting in the low 200s. You can't even really do that. You can't do that. You hitting one something? Like, what? Why are you even there? To me, at this point, this Cubs team has proven to me that the acquisitions they made were awful outside of bringing in Stroman, and that's really about it. Everything else to me has been bad. I'm not trying to harp too bad on Dansby Swanson, but you're getting paid that big money, and you sure as hell don't look like a big money player right now. I'm sorry. I know people will try and tell me the standard has changed, but 279 ain't good enough for my highest paid player on my team. Not unless you give me Aaron Judge numbers and power. If you can give me some Aaron Judge numbers or some Giancarlo Stanton numbers and power, okay, you can hit 270. But you're just an average hitter. You're supposed to be the guy to bring the average up for the team, and you ain't even really doing that. So, like, Dave, I don't know specifically with this roster, this team this year, do not see any way for them to get better quickly. There's literally no move they can make because they have too many issues. Like, I mean, for being real, what, 5 out of the 8, maybe 4 out of the 8 position players that we put out there every week, every game with a pitcher, probably can be replaced off of our roster by better players. I don't see how they get any better. This is an awful experience. It actually makes me happy that they still have got the same manager because he proved he wasn't a great manager last year. He's going to show you again this year that he cannot manage a team because, look, even an average manager is going to get the most out of his roster. It does not feel like David Ross is getting the most out of this roster at any time that he puts that team out on the field. Anytime.
No, man, I'm with you. I'm not with you on the Dansby Swanson stuff. I'm actually going to have to step in for my guy Dansby here. I think a 280 hitter playing Gold Glove defense with a little bit of pop in the middle infield, I think that's a perfect guy to put in your middle infield and pay a lot of money to. I love watching him and Nico on defense, man, and I'm a defense guy. When you get Cody Bellinger back, that's another bat that you feel like you can trust. If Christopher Morel, he's evening out. If he could be what he was last year, he was decent enough last year to at least contribute off the bench. If Nick Madrigal comes back from Iowa and is able to hit, my God, even 275 instead of 230 like he has as a Cub, that's going to help. But at the same time, even we're talking about the offense keep getting better, but after Steele and Stroman, there's question marks. I mean, Drew Smyly had a rough outing last night. Jameson Taillon, my opinion on Jameson Taillon. Kyle Hendricks.
This whole show hates Jameson, bro. I can't ever have love for a guy with a 7 ERA. Can't do it.
Listen, I want to give a shout out to Jameson Taillon's parents for naming him Jameson, so I know what to drink after I have to watch him start a baseball game. I drink heavily after his starts. It's usually Jameson. It could also be Malort. We are a Chicago show after all. But I feel like, between Smyly and Hendricks every time through the rotation, I feel like I'll get one good start between the two of them. I know what I'm getting from Taillon, and it's usually trash. I know the other one, who besides Smyly or Hendricks, who doesn't do well, probably going to be eh. But the problem to me is that even if you get Bellinger back, Madrigal starts hitting, Matt Mervis finally picks up on major league pitching, even if you do all that, you put up 5 or 6 runs a game, I'm still worried that you have nobody to throw out the bullpen besides Adbert Alzolay and Mark Leiter Jr. They've got to stop trying to cobble together this mishmash bullpen at 11:59 every single season. It's not working. I mean, last year, yes, you got a couple of guys who you traded for prospects at the deadline. But even in that case, I mean, it didn't help out because you were so poor at the time. And this year, the guys they brought in are absolute basura. Oh, my goodness. When I have to watch somebody, man, Michael fucking Fulmer, man. They thought that was going to be the closer. That's who they thought. Oh, we don't have to spend money on a big bullpen guy. We don't have to trade for one. We got Michael Fulmer. The only thing good for Michael Fulmer is that when he got DFA'd, we didn't have to hear his name anymore. That's the best thing he did as a Cub, was get designated for assignment.
The thing that kills me with a Fulmer is, like, literally all you had to do is call across the city and say, hey, what do you guys think of this guy? You guys see him a lot. What do you think of him? They would have told you, oh, he's boo-boo butt. He's trash. You don't want to bring him in. But they're apparently somewhere in our analytics department, it said that he could be a quality guy. And I don't know where the hell that came from. Because, I mean, if we're talking about the history of Michael Fulmer, right? Talking about a guy who originally was drafted to be a starter. They figured out real quickly he couldn't be a starter, had to move into the bullpen, figured out he can't really do long relief. He ain't really, you're not going to put him in middle relief because it doesn't have that type of command. Well, he's got good stuff, so maybe he'll be able to work as a closer. You know, that like you got to talk about that history of a guy, and that's who you bring in as your closer? What are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, it was literally every single reliever they brought in was just like what are you thinking? Brad Boxberger, Julian Merriweather, who shout out Julian Merriweather. His last like 5 or 6 appearances, he's been really good. So shout out to him, man. But I mean, Julian Merriweather has a 4.3 ERA, and it's 2 points lower than last year. What do you thought you bring a guy with a 7 ERA, and you thought, oh, hey guys, we got a bullpen. Don't worry. No, we'll compete this year. Like, come on, what are we talking about here? But that's we knew that would be the Achilles heel. Even when they were doing well, we talked the bullpen might be an issue, and now it's a major issue. It's losing them games.
Hey, I think Jed, he might have been watching a little bit too much Moneyball before he put this team together. Because let me tell you, the way this team has been put together, it reeks to me of Billy Beane when he was in Oakland. Like, well, you know, I'll pay this guy, and then we'll kind of try and plug some pieces around, and we'll be good defensively, and we'll be able to go station to station. No, you need some certified dogs on this roster, and we ain't got them. We really don't. Like, and this is why I say I don't want to kill Dansby Swanson, because he has still been at least to the level that you would hope to get out of a quality shortstop, out of somebody that you can put out there every day, count on them to be a bat in your lineup and a great glove. He's been that for sure. My issue comes in is that what's going to happen now in the offseason? We're going to hear the crying about how they ain't got no money. Their team didn't do good enough last year. We can't sign this player now, and we just going to be right back in this same bullshit next year. And that's where my issue comes in, because it's like, look, if you're going to spend big money on the guy, he better be doing something that we can at least, as a fan base, say, well, at least we got this dude. Because as good as Swanson has been, there's nothing that makes me be like, well, at least we got this guy. You know, like, if we could just get some people around him, we could win. Like, when you have Aaron Judge, perfect example, you're like, oh, okay, we put some things around this man. We got something. I feel like we're closer to being like the Anaheim Angels than we are like a quality organization like the Yankees. We're more so towards the Angels, because look at what the Angels doing. The Angels got 2 great players, can't build a roster around them to save their life. We have 1 good player, and we've got some decent players around them, but the rest of the roster ain't great. We basically them. They just as shitty as we are. You know what I mean? As a matter of fact, you might be able to say, as a baseball fan, you could probably rest your laurels a little bit better on the Angels, because at least they got Mike Trout and Shohei. What do we got?
I mean, and I think they got some guys in the minors that could turn into something still. I mean, that's
absolutely.
We spent 108 years talking about who's next. So I mean, I'm tired of talking about who's next. You know, we had 4 or 5 of them. They got 1 World Series, and all of a sudden they fall face of the earth. But you know, I mean, I'm thinking still Pete Crow Armstrong is going to be that guy. I think he's a guy who could be a 300 hitter with Gold Glove defense out in center, and you know, that's what you're hoping. But yeah, I mean, first of all, I'm kind of a sidetrack. Moneyball doesn't work, by the way. Are we aware of that?
Preach, brother. Preach.
Yeah. How many times in the movie did you see the Cy Young Award winning pitcher or the MVP shortstop? 0 and 0. Zeros. They got fat zeros on that, man, because they don't want to talk about how Barry Zito was dropping that curveball and everywhere. But anyways, yeah, I mean, it's a disaster, man. I think that between Adbert Elzalai and Cody Hoyer coming back soon, who I'm very excited about Cody Hoyer. I think he's going to end up being a guy who could be a closer for a long time. I think he's got the potential to really be like a, you think about like when San Diego for 10 years straight didn't have to worry about a closer. I'm not saying he's going to be Trevor Hoffman, but I am saying that I do think that he could hold down that position for quite a while. So I think I'm excited about him. I'm excited about Adbert Elzalai finding his spot in the bullpen. We all thought he'd be a starter, but he kind of always had this stuff of a guy whose maximum capacity was 5 or 6 good innings, not a workhorse. And in today's day and age, you need at least 1 or 2 workhorses in your rotation because most people go through 100 pitches by the 5th or 6th inning. We could talk about Dylan Cease in Chicago since we're talking about our baseball teams. A guy who goes 5 1/3 innings pitch with 107 pitches, and they're good 5 1/3, but now you have to go to the bullpen. So, I like those 2 pieces. But to me, your next step if you're the Cubs is go out and get yourself a real catcher. Yan Gomes is hitting a lot of home runs. He hit a home run today, actually, by the time we're recording, so good for him on that. But he's an older guy. You know what his limit is. Get yourself a 26-year-old catcher from another team. You did it last time you had a rebuild. You got Miguel Montero, and look how that worked out. He helped you win a World Series. Go out and get a couple of relievers. Teams that trade for relievers and keep them long-term generally like when they do that. Just ask the Braves about Raisel Iglesias, who's currently closing for them right now, and they really enjoy him. If you do those 2 things first off and stop giving money to guys like Miles Mastroboni and Jameson Taillon, you could be 1 or 2 moves away. But again, we've spent 108 years saying that to get one is going to be 108 years to the next one, and then it's one and done again.
I think you brought up a great point and talking about Dylan Cease. I think that is a general problem in Major League Baseball now, where a lot of these guys, they got this really great stuff. They could fire it in there. They could throw it 100, but they don't have the location to get them through 7 innings. You know what I mean? They can't do what Greg Maddux and Glavine were out there doing for like 20 years in their careers, right? Which was, hey, I know I don't have the best stuff, but I can hit you on the edges all day long. I think that's something that is greatly missed in baseball now, just in general. When you watch it, there's not many pitchers that you really look at like that. Most of the guys that are that way, right, are the old guys, the old heads like the Verlanders now, right? But Verlander's been in the league for damn near 20 years. You know what I mean? Like a lot of these young guys, God rest his soul, what was his name? Hernandez in Miami. He's a fireballer, right? How that would have shook out long term, we don't know, but that would have been a great couple of years to watch because he's a fireballer. He's got, he's constantly throwing these pitches that you're like, Jesus, how do you do that? But for me, I'd rather take a guy like a Kyle Hendricks that's going to give you consistency for about 7-8 years where hey, look, Kyle ain't got the best stuff, but he's got a mind that works very, very well, and he knows how to locate and work the counts to his advantage. I wish there were more pitchers in the game like that now, because coming up, right, we always had so many great pitchers that you were like, man, you can literally name them off, just fire them off left and right. Now there's not that many, beyond the known names that have been in the league for 10 plus years. Dave, who's a pitcher that you're like, oh man, that guy's dominant. That guy's that's a special pitcher. It's hard, right? When you sit and think on it for a second, right? It's hard because you're like, well, who is there actually? Because most of these young guys, they'll either come in, be pitching really, really great, right, for a year, get hurt, then they're never the same after their injury, or they come in, quickly find out their command isn't good enough. They never become the pitcher that they're supposed to be. Most of the time, they end up in the bullpen somewhere, right? So Who's left? I mean, because look, the guy that it should have been at this point, right, would have been a guy like Strasburg. What is he now?
He can't even throw a baseball. He can't use his arm. He literally can't use one of his arms. Man, his shoulder's falling off. There's few, you know. I mean, there's Spencer Strider in Atlanta. He's a great example. You know, he's a young guy who absolutely throws just gas. He's phenomenal. Shane McClanahan in Tampa is an example, but the problem is these guys are too hit or miss, and they have too many arm problems, and they're not consistent enough. I mean, one of the worst players in all of baseball this year is Alek Manoah, who everybody thought he was the betting favorite at one point to win the Cy Young Award in the American League. And he has an ERA of about 6.5 right now. He leads the league in walks. He's terrible. He's like 1-7. You know, it's so tough to pitch. It is. It's just so tough to pitch. You look at Manoah's stats.
Yeah, oh my God. He's terrible this year, bro.
He's like when Cody Bellinger went from MVP to batting 175, and you're like,
yep.
Whoa, what just happened? How did that what? Yeah, I mean, the only guy I could think of, and Ohtani's one of those guys. He's newer to the league technically. Last few years, he's an ace. But McClanahan and Spencer Strider are really the only two guys. I do love Spencer Strider though. He's a dog.
Two guys. You know what I mean? Like, think about it. Let's just go back to when it was hardcore. We were basically seeing Red Sox Yankees in the playoffs every year. Yeah, Clemens, Pedro, Messina, what's his name? What was the other dude's name? Not he wasn't a Mike. What?
And we had like Andy Pettit.
Thank you. You got Pettit. You had Cone. You had all these guys over the course where it was like, damn, these guys could go out there and deal. Literally on any given day, they can shut you down. You don't see a lot of that now. Like you said, it's really two guys, and then all the other guys are old guys. I mean, like it's Verlander, Cole, you know, it's really about it. Like there's no other guys that have had longevity. Most of these guys have come in, gotten off to a strong start, then like you said, fall off. Like you said with Strasburg, hey, he can't even use one of his arms. He can't even stay healthy. That happens. That seems to happen to a lot of these guys, and it's very disappointing to see, especially for me. I am always a big fan of like great offense in baseball. Oh, I will never ever complain about it. But when I'm at home, I can also enjoy an awesome pitching performance where you're watching a pitcher just dotting these guys up left and right. You don't really get a lot of those now, and it's kind of disappointing to see. Hopefully, this next crop of pitchers are going to end up coming up from the minors all over the league. Hopefully, we can get some guys like that, right? Because at some point, Garrett Cole gonna have to retire. You know what I mean? Verlander gonna have to retire. Like these guys that you know you can count on, they're gonna be gone. So who else is gonna step up to those spots? And I don't really see a lot of guys like that. I mean, for God's sake, even Zach Effin's 29 at this point. You know what I mean? And it's like it's taken him this long to really be this guy that he is now. So I have real questions about what's going to end up happening long term with a lot of pitching in baseball. But before we move from baseball, I do have to say, White Sox fans, we have been very, very hard on the White Sox all season long. And I hope now, by this time, you guys can all see that me and Dave were doing nothing but being fair about what the White Sox are as a team, because the White Sox are terrible, okay? Like, they are awful, okay? Look, I know I was being very, very alarmist about the Cubs, but if I was a White Sox fan, dear Lord, would I be even more alarmed. I would be like, we got to blow this whole thing up. Like, what do they have at this point? I thought at some point, honest to God, Dave, I really, really did. I thought at some point, Tim Anderson would snap out of it, right? I was like, there's no way he can keep having a terrible year. Like this is impossible, right? Tim Anderson has been good for like his whole career. There's no way he could just. And he's played a little bit better. but not to the level that you need. I mean, he's supposed to be your guy that's hitting 300. He's hitting 273. And we've talked about about their pitching situation. We know I don't think there's a pitcher on that roster that we trust.
Oh, no. No, I mean, it's just every single player is like, they had 5 or 6 young guys who you were like, if these guys all hit this level, they're going to be phenomenal. And every single one of them got to here, right? I mean, we're talking, instead of getting to 100% what you were hoping, they got to about 75%. And if you have a rebuild where 4 of your guys get to 100%, 2 of your guys get to 75%, that's okay. That's when none of them reach that potential. I mean, there's no reason Luis Robert needs to be batting 250 right now. And Luis Robert one day looks like Willie Mays, and the next day he looks like Miles Mastrobuoni. I don't get it.
You know who he reminds me of? They're different positions. It's Aramis Ramirez, dude.
Yep.
That's just their Aramis. He's a guy that he's got great potential, but he has got a glaring hole in his game, and sometimes teams take advantage of it. Sometimes they don't. So when I look at Robert, I'm just like, God damn it, dude. You have so much talent. Why are you this bad? Why? I do not understand. You know what I mean? Like some of the other guys on the team, right? We know some of those guys as Chicago sports fans, we've known for years that they're not really what some White Sox fans wanted to make them out to be. So we already knew. But a guy like Robert, you're looking at him and you're like, oh man, this is supposed to be the next guy for us, right? He's supposed to be our, we went from Frank to Jose Abreu to now Robert. The Robert's going to be the next guy in line. And he ain't doing
it. Yeah. And I hate saying it as a Cubs fan, but I've been trying to tell people. I was trying to tell people at the time of the trade that Eloy Jimenez had so many issues that I didn't care about losing Eloy Jimenez as a Cubs fan. Good as he's saying in Chicago, but I mean he's batting 250 he's batting 255, I think, which is a hell of a higher than
we got to give him his credit. After this weekend, he's up to 266.
A whole 266? Wow. Does he have any? He must have a lot of home runs at least, right?
No.
Oh, well, he must play Gold Glove defense then, right?
No.
Definitely not that last one. He, I mean, he can't stay on the field, and then, he just people talk about Eloy Jimenez like he was gonna be the Aaron Judge you keep talking about, and he surely is no Aaron Judge. He's a fine hitter. He's a good hitter. He's not going to have that. He's not going to have those MVP type seasons. It looks like though. I mean, he's not. How old is Eloy Jimenez right now? Is he like 27?
Eloy,
yeah, it looks like he's about to turn 27. Just turned 27.
He is. Yeah, he's 26. So yeah, he should be. Yeah, no, he'll be turning 27 this year, Dave. He'll be 27 in November of this year.
Yeah, I mean, but he just doesn't look like a guy who's going to break out one of those MVP contenders. Moncada looks like he is a serviceable utility guy, but that's about it.
My question for you, though, Dave, is how long they going to keep rolling Gavin Sheets' ass out there, bro? Like, when does this stop? When does it stop?
Yeah, he's got to have some information on somebody. I mean, he always.
Like,
and here's the thing, right? I get playing Eloy Jimenez in left field because you feel like, he has the potential and his bat could be a difference maker for us in a game. Well, Gavin Sheets' bat ain't going to do a goddamn thing for you. He's a 230, 240 hitter. I mean, what are we talking about? But they still, Pedro Grifol, every so often is like, no, we need that bat in the lineup. Get out in right field. I don't care how bad defense you play out there. We need you batting. And, I mean, Pedro Grifol, by the way, I mean, his lineup decisions are mind-boggling. I mean, he puts out lineups that you just, look at the numbers behind them and you just go, how do I, scrolling Twitter, get better advanced statistics to tell me this lineup's terrible? How did Pedro not get this information?
I feel like him and David Ross get together at a weekly Sunday lunch and be like, how can we our lineups up this week?
Bro, I mean, if you were talking about the worst managers in baseball and you started at the bottom, I don't think you would have to talk about Chicago after number 26.
I think within 3-4 teams, you've already covered both Chicago teams. Is like their managers are atrocious, bro. Atrocious. Because like we said, a great manager is still going to get the best out of his roster. He's still going to figure out ways to like sneak a lot of wins. I mean, look at what Madden did in Tampa Bay for years. We're not even going to talk about what happened with Chicago, but just look at what he did in Tampa Bay for years. He figured it out. He figured out, well, we might need to do this. Like I saw there was many a times as a baseball fan where all of a sudden you're like, why did Evan Longoria go from hitting leadoff to number 8? Because Joe felt that's what they needed it at. You got to make adjustments. The guys we got, within 2 years, both of them going to be fired. That's all I can say.
Absolutely. And I mean, here's all you got to know. I mean, listen, I know the bullpen has not been very good this year for the White Sox. I know that you're kind of, you pick your poison, but 24 times this year, the poison he's picked has been Aaron Bummer, who has a 7.71 ERA. I'm going to say that again. I'm going to get really close to the microphone. 24 appearances.
Bruh. Between him and him and Dykeman, if I'm a White Sox fan, I don't want to see either of those guys pitch for the team for the rest of the year. They have both been atrocious every time that they have come into the game. Even a couple games where the White Sox might have been able to pull the dub, them dudes shitted it away. So, honestly, Chicago baseball is terrible right now, and I'm sorry, but like Chicago fans, we sorry. We would love to have more positivity on this episode about it, but since the last show, all of these teams have done is give us every reason in the world to not believe in them and to consistently think that they are terrible, right? Maybe things will get better. Hopefully, the Cubs will get Ohtani in the offseason and fire David Ross so David Ross doesn't mismanage him, and then we can go from there. At this point, I think, if I'm saying it to you, real talk, Dave, I think Ohtani ends up as a Yankees player as much as I would love for him to come to Chicago. When I heard Aaron Judge, when he was, I don't know whose podcast was, but it's a current player that he was on his podcast, and he was talking about how the whole situation went with re-signing with the Yankees, right? So he calls up Hal, and he's talking to Hal about, hey, man, we're going to get this deal done. And Hal's like, okay, what's the number? And he told him the number, and Hal was like, oh, that's it? Okay, we got you. Well, hurry up and get that signed. We'll make sure we get the contract to you because I plan on making you the captain of the New York Yankees. That's a team that cares about winning. So that's why I say, like, I'm praying, I'm hoping, I'm wishing, you know what I'm saying? I'm doing everything I can to hope that we get Ohtani. Do I believe that it happens though? No, I think he ends up in New York, and then we watch the Yankees have a new dynasty, and it's going to be disgusting because if you rolling out there in a series, at least 4 of those games is Garrett Cole and Ohtani. I don't know how you beating those guys in a 7-game series. I don't know how you do it.
I do think you have the city correct, but I don't think you have the right team. I think he's a Met. I do. I think he's a Met. I think that when you talk about a guy who just all he wants is to win a World Series, and he's not afraid to spend as much money as he needs to, and he has unlimited money because he did a lot of shady shit that we just apparently forgot about, by the way. Does nobody talk about this anymore? He was like under investigation by the FBI, Cohen. I mean, I listened to a whole 5-part documentary about it a couple weeks ago on a show called American Scandal. Scandal. What are we talking about? Nobody wants to talk about how Steve Cohen just has all this money that he got from all this illegal bullshit, and now he's just the owner of a team that has no salary cap. We're just fine with this, by the way. He's going to be a Met. Him and Kodai Senga are going to be phenomenal teammates together. They're going to be 40% Japanese rotation that's going to throw these crazy sliders with these goofy leg kicks, and we're just going to have to watch the Mets win a couple World Series, I think.
Here's the only reason I disagree with you. If Shohei was on the Dodgers and he was getting ready to leave and go to New York, I would agree with you. Because then he would have experienced playing on a team that actually gives a shit about winning. But he's been stuck on these Angels where it's very clear they don't give a damn about winning. Because there is no way, if you gave a damn about winning, that you've had the best player in baseball for all these years and ain't done piss with it. How many times? What, they didn't make the playoffs with him, what, once?
Mm-hmm.
One time.
Well,
and then they got
with
put
Trout,
right
yeah,
below.
once with Trout.
How do you have the best player in baseball? We had Sammy and Sosa, okay? He was not the best player in baseball. We were still able to make the playoffs. How do you have Mike Trout and build a team so – you have Mike Trout and Ohtani, and you build a team so poorly that you are in fourth in your division, and your division is not a great one. It's really two teams in your division? That's it? And the other dudes is trash? I'm just glad I'm not an Angels fan. That's all I can say.
Man, it's all that Josh Hamilton money and Albert Pujols money, and who was that pitcher they got? Oh, the guy with he got the car dealership in the suburbs. What's his name? CJ Wilson?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness. Oh,
They thought he was going to be the next guy. And then Rendon got all that money. He just got cleared the other day. He's not going to get arrested for, throwing hands with that fan on opening day. Well, I'd be mad too if I'd have lost the Athletics. Damn.
Yeah, look, I understand Mike Trout likes it out there and everything. I'm going to be real with you, Dave. If that was me, I'd be like, y'all motherfuckers got to trade me. I'm not doing this no more. You got to trade me. This is too much. Year after year. I mean, dude, because we talk about it on here, right? There is not a lot of like pure hitters out there that are guys that are literally 5-tool guys that can give you everything you need. He is one of the few players in the league that can give you whatever you need in year after year after year. They have shitted away. This dude is a 301 career hitter, and they have made the playoffs one time with him. One time. How is that even possible? He's hit 40 or more home runs at least twice, and y'all made the playoffs only one time with him. I couldn't be Angels.
I mean, think about some of the guys they put out there, man. I mean, it's truly, it's not like for example, like in the NHL, you see some of these superstar players that don't have playoff success, and you're like, maybe that's on them. This is like, bro, your second best hitter is a dude I ain't never heard of before. Like, what? Seriously, y'all? I mean, you have Max Stacy's been their catcher for like 8 years. He's trash. They got starting pitchers I ain't never heard of going out there every fifth day. Their calls to the bullpen are guys who, 2 years ago were working in a warehouse somewhere. I mean, it's just the craziest thing I've seen in my entire life. I don't know how they can keep doing that. They need to be arrested for crimes against baseball. Yeah.
I'm
trash organization.
I understand where Mike Trout might be like, oh, no, I'm loyal to the organization and all this. If I'm his agent or anybody else, I'm like, dog, do you have any idea how much money we could be making if you just went to New York or Chicago? If you actually went to the real LA team, not this fake ass LA team that you play for that's not even anywhere near LA. For those that don't know, if you've never been to California, where the Angels play is nowhere near fucking LA in Southern California. Look, they are closer to the Giants than they are Los Angeles. Okay? That's how far off they are up north. Okay, so just stop it. Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. That's the stupidest name I have ever heard in my life.
Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. That shit always hits, man. Unbelievable. Who thought of that shit, man? I mean, who was like, no, that looks fine. That looks good. Don't worry.
And then on top of that, owner, how the hell do you approve that? That is a terrible idea. There's nothing good about this idea. Nothing. And it's not like baseball is ever going to let that team move from up there. They're not. they have fan support. Even when they're bad, they have people going to their games. So what are we doing? It's dumb. It's insanely, insanely dumb. But you know what else is real dumb? When you start hearing the crazy talk of fans coming out about OTAs and players not showing up for OTAs, like we're currently having to deal with Jalen Johnson not showing up for Bears OTAs. There's been quite a few people out here having issue with it, trying to talk trash about Jalen Johnson. If he really cared, he would be there all the woofity woof woof woof, blah, blah, blah. Look, you have two of the more passionate Bears fans you would go ever meet sitting here doing this show. Neither of us give a rat's ass that Jalen Johnson is not at OTAs, but we don't care. What does it matter? He barely participated in off-season stuff last year, was barely healthy for the preseason and for training camp, and he was still by far our best corner last year and one of the higher-rated corners when you look at his numbers. Why am I worried about this dude? Why would I be worried about him? He don't need to be at OTAs. He's the players that don't need to be at OTAs in my mind on our team, right? Eddie Jackson, Jalen Johnson, everybody else, your ass should probably be there. Other than that,
yeah, man, especially for a cornerback, an outside corner. I mean, really, what are we really talking about here? You know what? For a cornerback, this is what's going to happen. Every play, you're going to get the play call in, and you're either going to run the same zone every single time, or you're going to play man. That's it. That's all you have to know. You have to know, oh, what was that? Oh, sorry, TJ, what was that? You calling the plays for the defense, right? Or Tremaine Edmonds, what's the play? Oh, I'm running man. Gotcha. Sounds good. Definitely didn't need to be working out OTAs for that. And by the way, at OTAs, he's probably playing against second-string receivers. Bro, me and you could be second-string receivers for the Chicago Bears. And I weigh a solid 300, man. I'm a big dude. I'm a big, slow motherfucker. And I will absolutely go out there and be number 2 set on the fucking Bears, these wide receivers. Man, they got dudes that should not even be getting paid by the Bears organization running out there. Well, Jalen Johnson's not going to be able to shut down this undrafted rookie from Appalachian State. Get the fuck out of here.
hey, you know who's there? It could really most definitely be using that work. Fucking Kendall Valdor.
Oh, man. Hey, no, he should be working. He should be working at the he should be working learning the Dewey Decimal System at the fucking library. He should be learning how to get forklift certified. He should be learning how to make phone calls properly so he could be calling people all day talking about the dick pills. He could be a telemarketer. He could do anything else, but he sure as fuck can't play cornerback for my favorite team no more.
I had to bring him up because I know me and you hate this man Valdor so much. We really do. Like look.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
For those that don't know, me and Dave have been ranting and raving to each other about Kendall Valdor for both seasons that he's been on this team. Every time we see him on the field, it's like, why Jesus? Oh, because nothing good happens. So hopefully over this OTAs, I don't want to harp on Valdor too much because like we talk about that dude all day. But hopefully, tell me this, Dave. And maybe you're feeling the same way. I'm hopeful that out of these OTAs, what will come of anything is some continuity from your offensive line and from your quarterback and wide receiver.
All I care about. That's it. And I do want the defense, the front line, the front four to have some idea as well. Continuity there is going to be important as well. But man, the two most important things are the offensive line. We got Tevin Jenkins trying a new position. Cody Whitehair's moving back to a different position. We got a rookie up there. The offensive line has the potential to be the best offensive line in football or the worst offensive line in football. It's anything goes at this point. So they need to get together. They need to communicate. They better be best friends, go out for dinner, whatever it's got to take to have the chemistry. So you know that guy into your left and right what they're going to be doing. And, yeah, I mean, all the reports from training camp, though, are that DJ Moore is just making this Bears defense look like Swiss cheese, and Justin Fields keeps putting the ball right where he needs to every single time. So if we keep that rolling and you know, that's the key to the whole season. I think everyone knows that, but it's still worth saying out loud.
I think one of the things I noticed about Fields last year, especially, was that the guys that he trusts, he's going to hit them. Like Mooney and Kmet, he trusted them. He's going to hit them in stride. He's going to give them opportunities to go make a play. But when he was out there having to look and be like, hey, that's EQ out there. That's, I don't know, we got EQ out there. It's like, bruh, I wouldn't have thrown the ball either. Because, look, Equanimous, you're a great special teamer. You're a great dude to have as like a situational guy to bring in. Like when you're in the red zone and you need short yardage, you're trying to run the ball, having a receiver like EQ is great because you know he can block his little ass off. But you asking him to go out there and run routes and get open, he is not his brother Amon-Ra, okay? He is not. So I can't blame Fields for not wanting to throw the ball. The thing I think I'm happiest to hear is just that so far, knock on wood, of course, we've been healthy, haven't had guys getting stupid injuries, putting us in a weird spot already. Last year was a year with a lot of injuries. Man, we were by the end of the year, Dave, we were throwing some guys out there that I was like, who the hell are you? And you know, I play Madden franchise, and I'm still like, who is this guy?
Tim Boyle threw passes for the Bears last year, man. Come on. Nathan Peterman started a game.
Bruh. Nathan
Make it stop.
Peterman. Hey, look, I'm telling you, Nathan Peterman must be the greatest human being on the face of this planet because we know he sucks as a quarterback. So he has to be like the nicest, best teammate in the world that he keep getting these damn jobs. I don't understand it. Even as a backup. What's the purpose? He stinks.
I would bet he's a future head coach. He must be very smart. He's got to bring some stuff to the meetings. And I don't mean that in like a joking way at all, but you talk about him being a good teammate. He's either got to be the nicest dude, like you were saying, or he's got to have a really good brain on his head. Maybe that's why John Gruden liked him. Maybe that's why he keeps getting these jobs, is he brings some stuff to meetings. He could be that guy that we kept thinking about, like Mark Sanchez was, where he keeps going from team to team with a young quarterback and just kind of helping them learn everything. But that's usually, those guys usually end up being coaches.
So you're saying he's the new Josh McCown. That's what you're saying. That's what you're saying.
Just without the, random 400-yard games. Yes.
Look, Doc, okay, listen. I understand Josh McCown had some random games where he was good. For his totality as a career, that man was boo-boo butt at quarterback, okay? Let's be real about this. I know Chicago fans, I know a lot of y'all love him, love Kyle Orton, all these backup-ass quarterbacks that we didn't have over the years. I know you guys love them. I get it. They came in and they gave us moments. I get it. But when we're talking about what they are, Josh McCown was boo-boo butt. Okay? That's what he was.
Man. Hey, and shout out to the Houston Texans for not spending their entire offseason trying to convince themselves he's the head coach again. They just went out and got an actual head coaching candidate instead of these random dudes we never heard of while they're trying to hope that Josh McCown is available next year and won't raise eyebrows.
He better be happy they didn't do that. He would have got fired just like Lovey. He'd have been fired right away, just like Lovey. Look, no matter who the Texans coach was last year, you were a placeholder. That's it. You were a placeholder till they figured out, okay, this is who we really want to bring in. And apparently they keyed in on D'Amico Ryans early in the process because they made that decision pretty quickly, which is not an issue or anything. I'm not saying that's a problem, but I'm just saying pretty clear that they had their mind made up who they wanted to bring in. As far as the Bears go, to kind of wrap with them, the one thing I would like to see happen before we get to actual training camp is the Bears need to find one guy that has shown he can be a pass rusher off the edge. I don't care if you're bringing in Frank Clark and Ngakoue. You need somebody that can show you. I know a lot of people will say, well, why aren't you talking about Chase Young? Because Washington is going to want a bag for Chase Young. And when you go and look at his actual production, his production does not meet not only his draft position that he had, but also what they're going to want back for him and then what he's going to ask you to pay him when it comes extension time. Not worth it. And I know some people will try and counter and say, oh, well, you know, he was in Washington. Hey, man, there's been plenty of defensive players that get off in Washington. Plenty. He, at this point, to me, is kind of are you really that good?
He's mid, bro. He's mid. I'm going to say it. He had a really good debut. He put up a few sacks. Since then, he has been an average edge rusher. He is not worth that bag that you have to pay him, not worth any of it. You have to look at free agency or another guy who has an expiring contract that you can trade a lot less for. But, I mean, there's options in free agency. Jerome, man, I'm going to ask you the one name. You already know a name I'm going to ask you. Do you make the reunion happen? Are you on board with getting Leonard Floyd back to the Chicago Bears?
Hell no, bro.
Good. Thank you,
Jerome.
No. Man.
No.
I keep hearing this, man. I keep hearing this. And it blows my mind because the dude's trash.
For what? All Leonard Floyd is fast. He ain't got no moves. He ain't got a counter. He ain't got overwhelming strength. He's not the most like, oh, well, he just knows all the plays. He's always going to be in a good spot. That's not him. Leonard Floyd is just fast. That shit is only going to work when you got three other guys pulling double teams. I mean, when he was here in Chicago, he had other guys that were pulling the double team, and Leonard Floyd would get one-on-one. And most of the time, you know what happened? Locked up. Clamps, just stuck. Once in a while, he'd get off. Yeah, he'd run right by the dude and get a sack. But I'm sorry, I'm not for run. This is my hesitancy on Ngakoue, too. Which is that Ngakoue, he's flashed, but it's never been super consistent. You know what I mean? Over the last 2 years, he's gotten more pressures than previously in his career. But that's one of those things that makes me be like, well, you knew you was playing for money, though. So is that really you? You know, so
no, it's a good argument. I mean, we've seen it happen before, and that's all that means is that you're soft mentally. That means you gotta find something to motivate yourself. You don't have that motor. You know, if you only play good in your contract years, that's because you're like, oh man, I haven't done enough all these years. I gotta try and get that bag now. I mean, you see it a lot of times, and it just means that they have to find a new way to motivate themselves every time out. And when they can't find the motivation, when they're set, they're done, they're just average. Not worth it.
Yeah, so I'm looking here at Chase Young, right? And I'm looking at the totality of everything. So since January 3rd of the 2020 season, right? So that would have been January 2021. Technically then, right? That man has had a resounding 0 sacks.
Bro. No, that's crazy talk, man. I mean, you know, as a rookie, he put up 7.5 sacks. But I'm going to the game talk because I'm pretty sure he had 2.5 after week 2. I mean, that is literally that's considering that it eventually became an 18-game season. I mean, that is literally 3 full seasons where he has a combined 6.5 sacks.
So
you want to trade all this for a guy to get 2 sacks every season?
This is what's alarming to me. This is per PFF. Okay. So this was them talking about how Washington had declined his 5th-year option. This is what they went on to say. They say, Young got off to a great start in the NFL, recorded 6 sacks, and earned a 75.9 pass rushing grade in 2020. Finished the year with a 87.1 defensive grade, which was 6th among edge defenders and 18th among all defenders, right? However, since then, he has only recorded 2 sacks and 5 quarterback hits. He has missed 23 games since he's been drafted. 23.
Yeah, and that's like when you get those 7'4" centers that start getting the foot issues. When you got a big dude whose entire strength is, well, their strength and their size, like Chase Young and his athleticism, he's not going to get healthier. Those dudes don't get healthier, or they get healthier because they lose all that strength and they become trash. It's going to be one of the two. He's either going to play a lot of games and produce nothing like he did at the beginning of his career, or he's going to be a guy who for every 3-game stretch he plays looks like a world beater, and he's going to be out for 5 or 6 weeks. Then he gets another 2 weeks, and then he's out for 6 weeks again. I don't want a part of either of those two things. Those are both horrible.
The only encouraging thing that you can say for him, and it's a very small sample size, over the final 3 games of last year, he played 114 defensive snaps. He earned a 78.4 defensive rating, which was 10th during that span. And he earned a 80.2 grade playing from the linebacker alignment, right? Which is essentially he was a edge guy that's playing as a linebacker primarily because of the scheme. Those who don't understand. He finished the season with a total of 7 pressures, 6 hurries, and 1 hit. So 7 pressures and 114 snaps, that's decent. But again, that's not, I'm going to trade the whole bag for this dude. You know what I mean? Like that's not, oh yeah, man, we have to bring that in no matter what. Because if we're being honest, that's saying he got pressure on 16% of his snaps. If you matriculate that over time, that percentage point is probably going to end up dropping by like 2 to 3 percentage points. So that means over the course of a season, you're getting maybe 12 to 13% of his snaps are going to be pressures. I'm sorry, dog. I'm not trading the whole bag for that guy.
Nope.
I'm not doing that. Now, look, if you Michael Parsons, okay, if you doing something like that where you getting all types of pressures, or you Myles Garrett, or you TJ Watt, something like that, hey, we trade the bag for you. But this, nah, bro, I just don't see it. Like, you could see it right away with Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, Parsons. I just don't see. I mean, hell, even Bosa, right? Both Bosas. You can see it right away with both Bosas. When Mac came in, you can see it right away with him. Those guys are real elite guys. I don't see it with Chase Young, man. I just don't.
Yeah, I mean, no, I definitely don't. He plays in a team that has 3 or 4 really, really good defensive linemen, so you know that he's not the one that's getting double-teamed. Or if he is the one that's getting double-teamed, then I need to talk to those offensive coordinators because he might want to double-team Jonathan Allen instead.
or Payne, one of the two. You might want to double-team one of those guys. Or, hey, even Sweat, you might want to double-team him. You know what I mean? One of the guys that actually produces, you might want to do that. But we'll see what happens. Hopefully, Poles continues to be a smart GM here and doesn't go Ryan Pace on us, and just lose his mind and do some dumb shit for no reason. Because we've had enough of that here with bad GMing. But while we're talking about GMing, we got to bring up those Chicago Bulls because there is a connection to the NBA Finals here. For those that don't know, the Bulls' current general manager is the guy that technically put together the roster that is in the NBA Finals and the Nuggets right now, right? He pretty much brought in, if we're just talking about their core players, he brought in Jokic, Gordon, Murray, and Porter Jr. Those are all guys from him. So my question is, are we talking about how good he can be as a GM? Why the hell is he trying to pay Vucevic again, Dave? This dude Vucevic already showed us he fucking washed. Why are we trying to pay him again? Do you know how, Dave, I almost threw my fucking phone when the Bleacher Report notification came up talking about, the Bulls and Vucevic are in talks and it looks to be going. For what? Send his ass to China. Send him to China. We don't need him. He is terrible. Dave, I would rather see this team and think about this too, Dave. This is another upsetting part. And I am not going to sit here and act like this man is a world beater, but he's better than Vucevic. We gave away Wendell Carter Jr., who at least has a potential to try and get better, because we was like, we're going to play Boost. Do you know what Wendell Carter averaged this year, Dave? Did you see?
Tell me.
15, 8, 2.3 assists, and he shot 52 from the field. And we got rid of him for Vucevic.
You didn't sell me on Wendell Carter. That dude's mid and he's soft, bro. Wendell Carter ain't nothing to me.
What is Vucevic?
And I'm not saying I want Vucevic, but I'm happy they at least used Wendell Carter's stock to try and do something, because I sure as hell did not want to watch Wendell Carter forget to box people out every possession. 15-8, that dude, man, he's 7 feet tall. He's a starting center in the NBA. He can't average 10 boards a game, but he's trash. I'm not worried about no Wendell Carter, but I am worried about Nikola Vucevic, because when I talk about soft centers, I might eventually get to Wendell Carter, but the first person I'm going to be talking about is Nikola, and it ain't going to be Jokic, because that man is doing the thing out there in Denver. And Vooch is just, they keep wanting to make him a three-point shooter.
Bro, that's how he is.
It's not who he is, but it doesn't mesh with DeMar and Zach, and that's the problem. So if you bring Vooch back, you have to get rid of at least one of those two guys, because you want those guys penetrating, and it's not going to be worth it to penetrate if you have Nikola Vucevic in his best spot, which is right underneath the basket. It's the same thing that Timberwolves ran into. They ran into Karl Anthony Towns having to become a three-point shooter because him and Rudy Gobert couldn't space the floor. You built 75% of your team to match Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, but then you made your starting center, who's going to need his shots because you put a lot of money into him, works a completely different system. He doesn't fit Billy Donovan's system. He doesn't fit the players around him. You are putting a square peg into a round hole, and it hasn't worked yet, and it's not going to work again. I like the team when they were doing what they were doing beginning of last year with Lonzo, but we know Lonzo's not going to be back, guys. So you have to go into next year saying you're not going to have Lonzo, and we saw what happened this year when you don't have Lonzo. Even if you have a first-team defensive player, your defense sucks because Vooch can't play defense, DeMar can't play defense, Zach can't play defense, Dalen Terry can't get off the bench, Marko Simonovic can't get out of Hoffman Estates to get to the Chicago team. I mean, you are looking at a mess of a roster outside of these guys. The big three does not work together well. You've got to move on, man. This is not. You have to do something different. And to me, the only way to do that is to sign and trade for Vooch. So I'm hoping that there's a team out there that desperately needs somebody to take some salary cap relief for them, and the Bulls can say, hey, you want to sign Vooch for $25 a year? Well, you got this dude at $25 a year. Let's make it happen.
That the Lonzo point is, I think, the linchpin of this entire thing working at all, because there is a significant difference in how that team played offensively once they lost Lonzo. Lonzo gave him rhythm. He was constantly hitting the open man, unselfish as hell, right? All the time. Like, we would see Lonzo would break a guy down, know he got the defender coming, kick it to that corner for that wide open three, right? Like, we know he was hitting LaVine and DeMar DeRozan in transition. Great spots for him to quickly get a bucket, right? Once we lost him, the offenses looked terrible in my mind. I was hopeful for Kobe White, but at this point, he's poor man's Kyrie Irving. He is a two guard in a point guard's body, and that's not his fault, right? But it is who he is. You're only going to get so much out of that. Now you're talking about our defense too. The defense fell off in cliff once Lonzo was out, because guess what? Who was our guy that usually ended up guarding the best perimeter players? They would switch off between Lonzo and DeMar. Now you're saying Zach or Kobe go out there and guard them dudes. That's a bad news that we've known since we got Zach LaVine in that Jimmy Butler trade. That dude's a fucking turnstile. That's what he is. So defense is bad. Offense is bad. Look, I would love to say, hey, maybe things get better if Lonzo could come back. But, hey, dog, you now trying to depend on a dude where historically now, if you look at what it says since he's been in the NBA, he's the guy that's got fucking knee problems. You can't depend on a guy that's got knee problems, man. You just can't do it.
He's done for, man. I mean, he's done for. Kobe White didn't turn into the prolific scorer we hoped he would. Patrick Williams. I'm gonna give Patrick Williams a pass because last year at the end of the year they changed up their defense a little bit. And he was putting up some really good defensive effort. He really made a huge leap in my opinion. And I think that's the reason why they went from the 12 seed to eventually at least making the play-in and winning a play-in game was Patrick Williams. But at the end of the day, even if you win 40 games next year, you're going to be hoping you only get to 40 by DeMar DeRozan hitting a few clutch shots out of nowhere that if he starts all of a sudden missing those, you're losing those games. Zach's going to need to put up 45, 50 in a couple games to win. You're depending on these very random off chances happening. You don't have a team that every night can go out there and you say, oh, I know that we'll be fine. They're going to put up a good defensive effort. They're going to move the ball really well on offense. You have too many ball stoppers. Zach's a ball stopper. Vooch is a ball stopper. Patrick Williams doesn't even play a part of the offense. He just stands in one spot, jogs around to a different spot, jogs back to this spot, and then when they throw him the ball, it's because he's wide open. That's the only reason he ever touches the ball is because he's wide open. And when you're wide open, you have to shoot the shot. The worst thing that happened to the team, this is sound crazy. This is one of my conspiracy theories, but the worst thing that ever happened to the Chicago Bulls was that random summer league where they told Patrick Williams to go out there and be the only guy doing anything out there on offense, and he was trash. That killed his confidence. I think he'd be a different player if they never did that. But they told him to go out there and be the man, and he shot about 30% from the field, and they lost every game. And he was like, I am not the man. I'm not even the man in the goddamn summer league. I got to do like Denzel Valentine win an MVP in the summer league. I can't even win a game in the summer league. Are you kidding me? He probably walked out of there thinking he was trash, man.
And you know what probably didn't help that first season? They were not playing him early in the year to get his confidence back, which then I think, because I'm in agreement with you. I never really thought about that, but that is true. It probably did kill his confidence to be so bad, especially after you watch Denzel Valentine. He was a baller in summer league, and you're saying, damn, nigga, I'm not even as good as Denzel Valentine. Like, good God almighty, what is this? So, yeah. Look, man, I don't know how this gets better without the Bulls just blowing it all the way out. They have to blow. Unless somehow you can trade for a superstar, but the superstars that would potentially be available for you, or the stars, I should say, because there's only a few superstars in the league, right? The stars that would be available to you might end up being a dude like Karl Anthony Towns. And do you really want to build a team around him? We've already seen that experiment in Minnesota.
No, absolutely not. Miss me with that, man.
But you see what I mean? Like that's the spot we're in.
Well, that's the thing about the NBA is superstars don't get traded. Superstars get traded if there's an issue. Superstars get traded if they're arguing with the front office and ownership, or they haven't been able to get to the playoffs. And we know winning cures everything. So the guys that are getting traded are the guys that can't win. Why? You don't want a guy that can't win.
Or if you just want to coddle a dude like Ben Simmons or Karl Anthony Towns, then those guys get traded too.
SAWFT, soft, man. That's the only dudes that get traded anymore, man. Dudes that are soft and weak. And I'm gonna sound like a boomer. That's this generation,
No, you're right though. You're right. Look, I try not to say that they're soft. What it is that I don't feel like there is the same level of competitor that there used to be. To be the best in the NBA, you used to have that Michael Jordan sickness where you just found any slight. You know what I mean? And it was like, hey, I'm taking that out. I took that personal. We're going to make this happen now. I don't feel like there's a lot of that now in the league. I feel like a lot of guys, especially and please understand, I'm not faulting them for the amount of money that they make, but I think because of the money that they make, even being an average guy, for God's sake, let's go back. And I always love talking about this dude, but what is it, about 5-6 years ago, right? Chandler Parsons got over $100 million in an NBA contract when it was already proven that his knees were probably done, and he still got $100 million. So you see, like now you don't have to be the best players in the league to get $100 million contract anymore. You know what I mean? Now you can be average guy. You can be role player and get you $100 million. It wasn't like that before. I think, but I think we're finally approaching like because, eventually stuff like that, you hit like a critical mass and then it starts changing. I think we've hit the critical mass and it's slowly starting to see a change because now, because of what guys like Jimmy Butler have done in this postseason, what Jokic have done in this postseason, right? I think teams are going to start valuing guys more with that dog, more with that fight, than saying, hey, look, you can have that more talented guy. I'm going to take this dude who's a little less talented, but I know he's got that fucking dog in him. I know he does, because that dog is going to get him and get this team to places that we probably shouldn't even have got to. Because look at the Heat. Jimmy Butler, for 2 rounds, put that team on his back, and then in the conference finals, they was like, hey, dog, you put us on your back for 2 rounds, we got you this round.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're spot on, and that's the thing. I mean, but we talk about Jimmy Butler. I mean, we all know the practice story, but the practice story tells exactly what you are explaining. When he said, I'm going to grab the bench players and I'm going to whoop the starters, and he went out there and dogged the starters to the point where the starters are out here crying. They beat us so bad. He said he's gonna beat us again. That proves a point right there, man. When you have that guy with that mentality, basketball is a very individual game. When you have that guy, if you have superstar versus superstar, one guy is more mentally strong than the other one, they're gonna win that battle most of the time. So when you got Jimmy Butler against Jaylen Brown, sorry, Jaylen Brown, you didn't look very mentally strong. And that's even in a series where Jimmy didn't play his best ball. But, I mean, when you have that, you have other guys around you that are saying that exactly like you said, they're going to say, no. If he's going to put up 115% and he's got the money and he's got he's got the fame and he's got everything going and he's still putting up 110%, I better put up 120 if I want to be at that level one day. He builds everyone else around him. Shout out to Caleb Martin. Shout out to all these sharpshooters they got that see Jimmy Butler and say, no, if that guy's going to put up 50 points a couple times in these playoffs and he's going to have an off night, I better make every single open 3 that he gives to me, because he could just go out there and score 50 again tomorrow and I don't touch the basketball. We get the same result, but I'm not going to be the reason why we lose tonight. And
shout out to Illinois' own Max Strus on that roster, too.
Yes.
Shout out to the boy Max, man.
Lewis University, Lewis Flyer, man. You know how many times I used to sit next to Max Strus after Lewis games, talk to him about the game? Man, that was when I was that head broadcaster. I got the Broadcaster of the Year awards in the other room I could pull out and put on camera. But he's a smart dude. He's a good dude. I love watching Max Strus, seeing him succeed. Shame that he didn't go to the Bull. Oh, wait, no, he was on the Bulls. Oh, that's right. They didn't give him a chance. Embarrassing. Oh, no. Strus, Butler, any other Bulls on that team, man?
Bro, look, at the end of the day, the Bulls would be in a better position if Garpax had any set of Webos. That's all I'm saying. Because we would have never traded Jimmy. We would have told Derek and the whole crew on there, hey, look, we understand Jimmy be getting on some of y'all nerves, but this the next motherfucker right here. Derek ain't got no fucking knees left. Okay, Joe Kim, you getting old as hell. Okay, what y'all want to do? Y'all want to win or you want to cry and talk about how he tough on us in practice and always want us to practice hard? Yeah, he does, because that's the only way that motherfucker knows how to win. He doesn't. Some of y'all experience winning when you have to give it your all. Jimmy don't know another way. The only way he knows how to win is to give it his all and to bust ass every day. That's it. We would have been in a better spot to this day if we'd have just kept Jimmy Butler. Because then guess what? Hey, we traded Jimmy to then get rid of Derek anyway. Oh, it's genius. Fuck you, Garpax.
Yeah, it made sense at the time. It just didn't work out.
It never made sense to me. It never made sense to me. You need all them years we were searching for somebody to play next to Derek. where we have a real two guard, where we run out the likes of Kyle Korvers and shit. We finally get a dude, certified defender, knows how to score. He's just too mean to us in practice.
There wasn't a timeline, though. There wasn't a timeline. There wasn't a path, man, at this time. And you know what, man? Fuck Garpax and fuck Jerry Reinsdorf. He's a bitch. So fuck you. Sell the fucking team, you asshole. Sell both the teams, you fucking prick.
Give me an owner that cares about winning. Hey, look, like when you was talking about the Mets owner earlier, hey, look, we may know he did some very, very, very sketchy things that we can talk about. But one thing we can't question is, does that nigga want to win? Yes, he does. He wants to win very much.
This dude, Reinsdorf, like Garpax, ruined this team for a decade and a half, had them putting out these dumbass moves, man. Every single week you sit there watching, going, what are these dudes doing? And that's why you lose Jimmy Butler, is because Jimmy Butler wasn't going to get anywhere with the Bulls trying to put people around him. So that's why the move to me made sense. Try to get 3 or 4 pieces for Jimmy Butler, because if you could have hit on 2 of the 3 pieces you got back instead of just 1 of the pieces you got back, at the very least, you got 40% of a starting rotation. And now Garpax can't fuck those 40% of that up. That's about all that was good for him. But when you have Garpax at the helm, it doesn't matter. Even a move that makes sense doesn't make sense, because they're probably going to fuck it up, because Jerry Reinsdorf's fucking it up, because the whole city's gotten fucked up by these terrible-ass owners that we got to get rid of. Man, eat the fucking rich. That's what I got to say today.
I'm with you. Hey, look, you know what happens when you get it wrong? You end up with Wendell Carter, Patrick Williams, and Kobe White. Good job, Garpax. Good job. But Dave, tell the people where to find you.
You could man, what's my Twitter? I've been trying to get on Twitter more. I've been arguing with people on Twitter. Let me check what the tag is now. I got 15 notifications, actually. I was arguing with Panthers fans yesterday.
Why are you thinking about it? Let me tell you a crazy Twitter story. I seen a tweet, right? I happened to just look up Hulk Hogan on there, because like I saw that he was like trending in my stuff for some reason. I was like, why is Hulk Hogan trending? You know, I seen a brother came over there and said his feelings were so hurt and he was so disappointed with what he saw with Hulk Hogan, what he said about Mick Foley not being a great wrestler. And my question for that brother was, hey, man, it didn't bother you when he said the N-word all crazy, though? That didn't bother you. That didn't break your heart. But it broke your heart because he talked crazy about Mick Foley. I don't understand. My man would have been like, oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I forgot about that. Kiss my ass. You just don't want to get exposed right now on Twitter by the rest of Black Twitter coming for you and saying, oh, you cool with him saying the N-word, huh?
Man, yeah, what a wild ride that man's life has been, huh? I'm on Twitter at Davy Dots. That's me, Davy Dots 17. You can find me eating an award-winning rib from suburban rib spot, The Pit, at Naperville Rib Fest. You could also follow the wrestling that we talked about earlier in the show on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram at Premier Pro Wrestling. No E at the end of Premier. It's like the Premier League. I think the Premier League does the same thing. Yeah, that's about it, man. That's where you can find me. How about you, Jerome? Where am I going to be following you at?
At Jay Spenderman everywhere. You will either see my pretty face or the ITC logo. You already know it, baby. But make sure that you like, subscribe, rate, review us, share it with everybody, hit that notification bell so you're notified that every time we drop something new, because you know you love our spicy content. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, that was another resounding episode of your favorite Chicago show. You heard it, Chicago show. We do everything here. Just wait. I got some shit for Riot Fest next week. I got some. Don't you worry.
Hey, Jerome, how about this? Next week, next recording, no sports, all Chicago.
Oh, I'm with you. I got some heat. There's some things that I've been like, I needed a couple of the stories to play out a little bit, but there's some things, I got some heat. So, yes, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you on the next episode of your favorite Chicago show. And that is Because Chicago.